Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Ringside Regression. It's just me today. We are, as we mentioned last week, Jack is working with the National Hockey League for the summer, meaning he is not eligible to do the podcast. So we weren't 100% sure about that last week, and he got confirmation that just due to that rule, he will not be able to join us for the podcast for the next little bit, and that's okay. So he'll be gone for the summer. He'll be back, I think, at the end of August or early September, something like that, which is fine. We have a lot of content planned for the summer, and don't worry, we're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We have today's episode, which is going to go over the Stanley Cup Finals, some of the news that came out over the last little bit. And then next week, we have a special draft preview episode coming out. So we have some special guests for that. That should be out probably Monday. We're hoping for. So you'll get a couple episodes there, and then we'll have the Stanley Cup Finals recap episode out at some point, and then we'll jump into the offseason content. So a lot to talk about over the next couple weeks and months. So don't worry about that. But first, let's jump into the Stanley Cup Final here. We're 3 games in now. We have a bit of a break now before Game 4, and I wanted to record this after Game 3, which is why there was no episode on Tuesday morning because we would have recorded it Monday night. But overall, I mean, the first 2 games of the Stanley Cup Final were phenomenal. Like, we had 2 of the closest games. I think they were talking about it on the PDO cast, where the scoring chances were even between both Florida and Edmonton through the first 2 games. It was a super close series. And then, man, Florida got home ice advantage. They got to be able to plan that matchup. And they just kind of opened the door. And the Oilers didn't have a counterpunch in that game. And even when it looked like they might, when they scored the goal to make it 2-1, it seemed like, hey, maybe there's a bit of life here. And then just instantly the Panthers were able to strike back. And at that point, the game was just over. And the Panthers at home, I mean, they've shown it all playoffs. Like, their ability just to match up exactly how they want to is so dangerous, and it's so deadly. And I didn't know if this series was going to have to be a matchup thing just because of how good both these teams are. It kind of seemed like it was just going to be a who's going to break first situation. But man, Game 3 was just it was a masterclass at just being able to shut down the Oilers team, especially in that second period again. And it seems like that second period is always kind of the issue for Edmonton, right? Like, it's been their worst period this series. It was easily their worst period in Game 3, and it's been kind of a bad period for them all playoffs. And I don't know if it's just a long change kind of screws them up or what the issue is there. But like, this is a team that needs to figure out how to be better in the second period. And it seems like Paul Maurice has the advantage in terms of coaching right now. And who knows what's happening with Stuart Skinner, man. I mean, that's he's had a ton of goals go by him so far this series. And but Broski didn't look much better in the first 2 games, but especially in this game, man, it wasn't all on Skinner. Obviously, it was just kind of a team effort by the Panthers being the better team. But I wonder how much of a discussion there is about Calvin Pickard going in, because like, Skinner's a serviceable enough goalie when you can play competently in front of him. But if you just kind of get broken down like the Oilers were broken down in Game 3, then he's not good enough to carry you through that. And granted, some of the goalies that we thought would be good enough to carry you through that haven't either. I mean, Jake Andre didn't have a great round 3, and Connor Hellebuck had his playoffs this year too. So goaltending is weird, but maybe Stuart Skinner comes out in Game 4, has a 40 save shutout, and none of this is really a conversation. But overall, like, just a tough Game 3 for the Oilers, and now we get to see if they can bounce back, because I don't know if they'd be able to win 3 straight against this Panthers team. This Florida just seems too good. But I mean, Edmonton looks pretty good too. They've looked pretty good all these playoffs too. So it's hard to say. I think Game 4 is pretty much a must win for the Oilers, though. I wouldn't want to go down 3-1, especially even though they do have home ice in 2 of the 3 games. Just putting the pressure back on Florida to have to win another one in Edmonton seems like the way to go. And the series is projected to be super tight. It's a little disappointing that Game 3 went the way it did, and unless we see insane last couple games in the series, it's hard for me to say this is going to be like the best finals we've seen in the last 20 years. I know that was a debate we had last week, but that Game 3 was brutal to watch. So it's hard. Obviously, you can have maybe one stinker, in that, but the first two games looked phenomenal, and game three was just kind of a mess for the Oilers and was about what you expected from the Panthers. I guess the last thing to touch on too is just the amount of penalties going on in the series. It really seems like the officials, especially in the first period, are really trying to like set the standard for what will and won't be called. Which is good. I'd rather them do that honestly than put the whistles way early and then start calling stuff. So at least this way you're setting what the bar is, and then if you get a call in the third period that can kind of change a game, at least you have the standard of like, hey, well, we called that in the first, so we can call it now, instead of calling something that you've been letting go all game in the third period. So like we've seen a lot of playoff series. So it's definitely slowing down the pace of the games a little bit. I think it's making it less enjoyable to watch. I think like I can't remember if it was game 2 or 3 had like 30 something minutes of 5-on-5, which is insane. But yeah, I think overall from a game management perspective, it definitely makes sense like how the officials are kind of managing this thing so far, especially based on the two teams that are playing. So I don't hate that necessarily, but it's just something to kind of watch for as the series goes on. I kind of touched on the Dallas Stars there quickly, talking about Jake Oettinger, but the big news out of there is Pete DeBoer was fired by the Dallas Stars. It's something that we talked about briefly on the podcast, and obviously it now came into fruition. I don't know how I feel about it, because I don't think you could have, and like the Stars kind of hinted at DeBoer's comments being part of the reason, which is so weird. Like Pete DeBoer is like, if you pull up like from a hockey DB perspective, like his profile is so strange, because it's just Western Conference Final, Western Conference Final, Western Conference Final, Western Conference Final, Western Conference Final. He's been to 6 of the last 8 Western Conference Finals. And he's going to be on his 4th team in 9 years. Like, that doesn't make any, like, it's insane. Like, just that stat on its own is crazy. The fact that he got fired in San Jose after being a perennial great team. He got fired in Vegas after being a perennial great team. And now he's got fired in Dallas after being a perennial great team. Like, I don't know if it's Pete DeBoer is just it seems weird, because it's kind of like you're kind of just, it's kind of like survivorship bias, where you have this guy who's like always in conference finals, so really good teams are going to hire him because he always gets to conference finals, but like those really good teams are already like conference final level rosters anyway. So it's hard to tell if it's just Pete DeBoer is a really good coach who always wins, or he's always on really good teams, so good teams are going to keep hiring because he wins games. Like, it's just it's kind of a weird fallacy, and the fact that he hasn't won anything yet, and the fact that he doesn't last in these teams, would give me a little bit of pause if I'm going to hire Pete DeBoer. And this isn't to say that Pete DeBoer is like not a good coach, but I think it's just an interesting thought experiment, is like how much of his success has been the fact that he's been on really good rosters, and how much of it is him elevating those rosters, right? Because this is a guy who's been to one Stanley Cup final with San Jose. I believe he was the head coach in San Jose at the time. And like, that's it. Like, so yeah, he's been to 6 of the last 8 Western Conference Finals, but like, where's the next level, right? Because if you look at it, right, like that Sharks team was a team a lot of people thought should have won a cup. The Vegas Golden Knights were a team that a lot of people should have won a cup, and they did win a cup pretty much immediately after he left. You know, this Dallas Stars roster is a team everybody thought was, I guess they had them penciled in after the round 1 victory as the Stanley Cup champion. So like, it's interesting, right? Because like, he's got a really good resume, right? His record is incredible, but he's also been on really good teams that have underachieved at the same time, right? So it's kind of interesting. The other issue is like, where does he go, right? Like it seems like a lot of the teams have kind of been accounted for, right? Like Boston just hired Marco Sturm. You had Pittsburgh just made their hire. Anaheim hired Joel Quenneville. Like there's really not a lot of options left, and it goes the same way with Dallas, right? Like, I mean, Jay Woodcroft's kind of the name that I've been throwing around everywhere, and it seems like he's the best coach available now, right, outside of Pete DeBoer. So that seems like the easy fit for Dallas, but like, it's weird. Like, I think both teams are kind of in a weird spot, and like, man, I mean, Joel Quenneville must be feeling stupid for taking his job when he did, right? Like, he probably should have waited till the middle of June, and then he could be coaching the Dallas Stars, and I think that would be as you know, as optimistic as I am about the Ducks roster, it feels like there might be a bit more hope in the Dallas Stars roster as it's currently constructed. Man, I mean, Joel Quenneville feels like he'd be a really natural fit there, right? But unfortunately, that option is gone. So I don't know where Pete DeBoer goes. It feels like Pete DeBoer might be one of those coaches that's just kind of like, and like he's had a job every year since like 2005. Like he's been in the NHL consistently forever, right? Like it feels like he might not be somebody that gets a job this summer. It feels more like if one of the good teams, like one of the top 10, 12 teams from this year gets off to a bit of a cool start, they might be a little shorter on the leash for their head coach because Pete DeBoer's out there, right? Like I think of a team, maybe like the LA Kings feel like a team that like if they get off to a slow start, I don't see them firing Hiller after one season, although the failure of the playoffs is a lot of people are blaming him solely, and I don't necessarily disagree, but I don't see them firing him now. But again, I mean, Pete DeBoer's a big enough fish, right? Like we saw it in Anaheim, right, where they made the move because they could get Joel Quenneville, right? Like we saw it in St. Louis where they knew they could get Jim Montgomery, so they pulled the trigger, maybe a little prematurely. I think the Kings feel like the team that could do that. I don't necessarily think they do it like October, but who knows, right? I mean, like there's really not a ton of openings that would be intriguing to me right now if I'm Pete DeBoer, or even potential openings, right, where like you could see a coach maybe getting fired. But like at this point, like the chairs have already been set, right? Like everybody's kind of accounted for their spot. So it feels like this is going to be a situation where we're in like the end of October, early November, and somebody's like first 10 games they went like 2-8, and you pull the trigger right away, right? Like that's what it feels like in terms of where Pete DeBoer ends up. And if I had to bet on it, like LA feels like the team that might be able to do that pretty quickly. Also with the Dallas Stars, apparently they're looking to trade Jason Robertson because the Ilya Lyubushkin contract sucks, and they realized they probably can't move him. Shocker. And they want to sign Mikael Granlund, which like fair enough. Like outside of Mikko Rantanen, Granlund was probably there, and even with counting Mikko Rantanen, I think Granlund was their most consistent game-to-game forward in the playoffs. Granlund just had, or Mikko Rantanen just had like the biggest peaks. But in terms of like consistently game-to-game, I think Granlund was their best forward in the entire playoffs. But it seems weird that Jason Robertson's the guy that you're moving, right? Like, I get you probably don't want to pay him because you have a bunch of other contracts and it's not like they're going to be bad if they move him. Like, I don't think this is like the end of the world if they ship out Jason Robertson and like the season, like everything's done. But like, it seems weird that he's like the odd guy out here because Jason Robertson's really good. I know he had an iffy start to the season. He didn't end up making Team USA for that. I wonder how much that is playing a factor into this. It just seems like a strange name to be thrown out there. Buffalo's a team that's been brought up a ton in that, but I think Buffalo needs a lot. But depending on the offer, right? Like the offer could be interesting there. Quinn Hughes is the other name that's kind of getting thrown around as somebody who could potentially be moved. Obviously, like New Jersey feels like the only team that would that has the assets and he would be willing to sign long term with right now. So I think you can kind of pencil that in if the Devils are going to make a move for him. If not, they'll just wait 2 years and he'll hit free agency and then they can sign him there for free. So those are kind of the two names that are interesting. I don't admit Jason Robertson's strange. It feels like that one's a lot more urgent because they want to get the Granlund deal done. And like, what's Mikael Granlund get? Like, Mikael Granlund just went on this like this career saving like arc, right, where he rejuvenated his career in San Jose, being like this guy that was like this feel good story that was a cast off in the Penguins. Didn't look, his numbers were awful, and he goes to San Jose, plays first line center minutes on an awful team, and looks decently good doing it. Goes to Dallas, has a pretty solid run with the Stars, and now it's like he's gonna. And now he's going to be kind of become the villain again because he's going to cast off Jason Robertson. It's just kind of a weird situation there. But we'll see. That's something to kind of keep an eye on. The Quinn Hughes situation is also something to keep an eye on. Finally, the Columbus Blue Jackets are apparently interested in moving their 2 first-round picks out for a impact player, maybe Jason Robertson. Jason Robertson would be a fun fit in Columbus, and I think he'd very much fit, and like he'd fit in that top 6 as kind of their like their skilled winger. I don't think he has the speed that this team would necessarily want, but his skating style is just really strange. But it's an interesting fit. I think he kind of fits their age timeline too. Like I think they excelled this season, and now they kind of want to jump on that. If all it takes is moving their 2 first-round picks this year, and then like a B- C+ level prospect, I'd be okay with it. I wouldn't move like a big name prospect in that as well. And this draft class isn't very good. So like I don't usually advocate for teams in those kind of situations to just try to jump the line a little bit, but how weak this draft class is, I don't necessarily hate that. But there's no like smoke with Jason Robertson to Columbus. It's just the Stars are apparently looking to move him and not bring back a bunch of cap. And Columbus is looking to make an impact move, so it just kind of seems like it could be a potential good mesh there. But that's all we got for you today. That is kind of all the news that is out there. Thank you for listening. Like I said, this summer is going to be a little weird. Obviously, Jack won't be with us for the next couple months, but we do have a prospect episode coming out next, and that will be we have 2 guests for that as well. So look out for that as the NHL draft comes closer and the offseason picks up, and we'll have a bunch of moves. Oh, Chris Kreider also rumored to be shipped out to the Anaheim Ducks. I don't really have any thoughts on it yet because I want to see what the deal looks like. Sure, I guess. I don't know. If the rumor is the Ducks are going to take on his full salary, go ahead, right? Like, sure. Maybe we did the what did the current Ducks roster compare to like the Stanley Cup winning Chicago Blackhawks teams? Chris Kreider can be your Brian Bickle comp, I guess. Right? Like, sure. So there you go. Or Dave Bolland, right? Like he can be that kind of player for you. But there you go. Thank you for watching. Remember to like the video if you're watching on YouTube. Remember to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Rate and review there as well. That always helps out grow the page. If you liked it, share it with your friends. Maybe they'll like it too. And follow us on Instagram. We'll have updates and clips and stuff on there. But thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. And we'll see you in the next episode.